No.
Sonali, your voice is breaking.
23-24 and 24-25.
Speak again.
Can somebody confirm whether I'm audible or not?
Sonali, your voice is cracking in between, and we did lose you. Avnish this side.
Now it's clear?
Yeah, better.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So today we have our CEO, Amfi CEO, Mr. Venkat Chalasani, who will say a few words on distributor due diligence, and we have Mr. Pandian, the Deputy CEO, along with my team. So, handing over.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you very much for sparing your valuable time. This is a very important exercise that we are doing. As you all know, every year we conduct this due diligence exercise. And this year we are doing it for 1,600 distributors. And I'm extremely happy to see that more than 1,500 people have logged in. That shows the interest and the importance that is being given by all of you for this exercise. As you all know, thanks to all of you for a significant contribution by our distributor community that the business is going by leaps and bounds. As we speak now, we have crossed 85 lakh crores, and the number of investors are also going. With the increase in the AUM and the increase in the number of investors, the responsibility of all of us, all the stakeholders, goes up, and that is where your role plays an important and very vital role. And we would like to see to it that you are, as SEBI and Amfi, would like to ensure that all of us are following the regulatory guidelines and we are fully compliant and we are fit and proper to do the distribution work, because ultimately the investor is reposing a lot of trust on us. Basis your guidance, basis your incidental advice, they are investing their hard-earned money, and we would like this trust to be continue on this industry and go to a greater heights. And therefore, a small request that we are making is, this is mandatory. We're doing this due diligence exercise. The auditors who are going to conduct this exercise, we have already interacted with them. We explained to them what needs to be done. The format has been devised by the team, Sonali and the team, and with the help of the entire Rohit, Avinash, and others, they have developed the format. That format has been shared with the auditors. It is going to be shared by the auditors to you people. My request to all of you is fill that particular format along with the documentary evidence which is being called for by the auditors. My second most important request is please submit the most, as I said, the most important thing that we need to have demonstrate is a trust and transparency. And therefore, my request to you, all of you, is please submit the documentary evidence that you're going to give along with these forms in order, so that there will not be any objections raised by us. This exercise is being done to see to it that we are working in right direction. If there are going to be any minor mistakes, it will be a good health checkup so that we can start the remedial process and take the things forward. Our colleagues, as I mentioned, Mr. Rohit from Access and Avinash from Franklin Templeton will be making the presentation. We are always available with you. Please ensure that you support the audit team and get this exercise completed as quickly as possible. I wish you all the very best. God bless all of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your encouraging and, of course, clarifying what exactly the purpose of this due diligence. Before we should start the presentation, there are 2-3 points that I would like the participants should note. this particular presentation is only with respect to the due diligence which are going to be conducted. So the questions pertaining to the due diligence only, that is only after the session, that is after the presentation is over, you can put your questions in the chat box and then we'll answer. The first is that you please, I request all of you, and I know that, because we have already shared the questionnaire, I hope that you people have already gone through the questionnaire, and in case if you have any question, you can ask even pertaining to that questionnaire also at the end of the session. So, Mr. Avnish, I'm handing over to you. You can start the presentation.
Yeah, thanks, Sonali, and thanks, Venkateshwar, for sharing your opening remarks and the vision. I think this is a very, very important exercise for the industry as a whole, and we are happy that, like you said, most of the distributors who would be covered under this due diligence exercise have taken the time out to log into the call. So a big thank you to all the participants for taking this time out. And like Venkat sir alluded to, so this is not just a regulatory requirement. I think as the industry has grown in size, we believe it is becoming even more important for us to be more responsible in the way we are dealing with our investors. And because trust is something on which this whole industry has been built over the last 3 decades or so, so it becomes equally very, very important for us. And this due diligence exercise, I would say we should not just witness this or view this as a regulatory requirement. I think it's more of a process control and a governance framework that we've kind of put together from time to time. And Amfi has been instrumental in working very closely with the distributors to lay clear guidelines in terms of and the framework in which this thing, the whole business has to be conducted. So I think the whole due diligence exercise, some of you would have gone through this exercise in the past. We've had feedbacks from a lot of you over the years that we've conducted this exercise, and we've tried to keep evolving the whole process. And as you go through the exercise this year, you will experience there is better coordination between the CA firms and the way the whole exercise gets conducted. The entire Amfi team has worked very closely in ensuring that your feedbacks are captured and we are able to conduct this exercise in a more efficient manner this year. So with that, maybe Sonali, we can move to the next slide, which is nothing but laying the context in terms of why we are doing this due diligence. I think it is the emphasis basically, like I said, is on increasing the governance, investor protection, and also to look at that we are conducting the suitability assessment for our investors. And at the same time, we are able to make those processes very transparent and compliant, and also ensure that the documentation has been done properly, as has been laid down very clearly in our code of conduct. So what we will do in today's session between me and Rohit, we will take you through in terms of what the whole due diligence exercise entails and what are the things that you should be mindful of as you go through your due diligence exercise with your CAs. So we will look at what we want to evaluate through this, what are the documents and processes that you want to review through the DDQ exercise, what are the common areas where we've seen observation in the past and you should be better prepared to kind of get your documentation ready when the CA firms come and do the actual audit. And then if there are steps that needs to be taken from a correction perspective, how do we kind of look at? So they should not be kind of looked at as a fault finding kind of exercise. I think this is an exercise where we believe that we are assessing that there are proper controls, and we are also looking at following the fit and the proper guidelines that has been laid out. So Sonali, we can move to the next slide. So from a criteria perspective, like Venkat sir highlighted, we are covering 1600 plus distributors in this exercise, which is getting covered for 2 years, which is 24, 25 and 25, 26 financial year. And the criteria for selecting the distributors who are getting covered under a due diligence exercise is up on the screen. I'm sure most of you are aware of these 4 criteria. So we typically look at any distributor who has 100 crores plus of industry assets or is earning a commission of 1 crore across the industry, or getting a 50 lakh brokerage or commission earned from a single mutual fund house, or if there is a distributor who has multiple points of presence, which is more than 20 locations, all of these exercise may cover hote hain. So these are the 4 criteria through which we've shortlisted the distributors for the current year's exercise. And and what we will typically look at is to not only focus in terms of what is being done, but I think the idea of this exercise is to look at whether it's being done in the right and the proper manner, and we are able to demonstrate it with documentation that all the processes are being followed, which are part of the due diligence exercise. So we can move to the next slide. So why is Amfi conducting this due diligence exercise? I would say this is not an exercise where Amfi is doing this in isolation. I think it stems from the requirement which SEBI has laid down, that each AMC should be conducting a due diligence exercise for the selected distributors, which I called out in the previous slide कि वो 4 criteria पे हम लोग अगर distributors qualify करते हैं, तो AMCs have to do a due diligence exercise and see whether all the processes are being followed as part of our code of conduct. So what has been done is to standardize the exercise. Amfi has started to do this exercise on behalf of the industry rather than each AMC going and conducting this exercise individually on their own. Amfi does this as a unified due diligence across for the industry, and then the due diligence reports are submitted to the respective AMCs for taking necessary actions. If there are observations that are highlighted basis the process that has been set up, and basis the observations, then the corrective actions can be either taken during the time of the audit itself, or the corrective actions can be taken later and then reported to Amfi. So the ultimate objective is to help AMCs assess that the distributor continues to meet the fit and proper criteria prescribed under the regulations. I think this exercise is not about, like I said previously, it's not about assessing business performance. वो हम लोग, me and Rohit represent the sales side, so we come and discuss that separately. But I think this is more about assessing whether the business is being conducted in a compliant, controlled, and an investor-centric manner. I think that's the whole essence of this exercise that we are trying to do. We can move to the next slide. So as you know, every AMC, like I said, was supposed to do this exercise on an individual basis, which is not happening. So to avoid that, Amfi has now facilitated a common unified due diligence exercise that we are undertaking currently, and it reduces the duplication and the administrative burden also for the distributors and the AMCs to do that, and we will have a more unified process in terms of evaluating all the observations, if there are any, or the responses that we get from each one of you through the process of the due diligence exercise. And that will help us kind of look at whether all the processes are being followed in the right spirit or not. So what will happen is, after completion of the exercise, I'm sure the CA firms have already reached out to some of you or most of you who are attending the call, and they have shared the DDQ also, which we call as the due diligence questionnaire, which has been submitted, which has been emailed to all of you. And that's the starting point of this whole exercise, through which the CA firms will collect your responses for each of the questions, and accordingly then start reviewing that in consultation with you, and do the documentation accordingly. So that's the next steps that we will move into. We can move to the next slide. So typically, what does due diligence cover? I think this is the next 2 slides are important in terms of understanding the whole DDQ questionnaire framework that is there, and what will get covered. Like I said in my beginning comments, हम लोगों ने आपके feedback से इसको काफी ज़्यादा refine किया है. Last year, if I remember correctly, and Sonali can correct me, I think we had more than 150 plus questions which were there to be filled, and we had one common questionnaire. We've kind of simplified that. We've segregated the questionnaire into individual and non-individual, and number of questions have also come down. If I remember correctly, I think on the individual side, we have less than 50 odd questions now, and on the non-individual side, we'll have maybe around 65 odd questions to be answered. So we have simplified the whole I would say process which is there. But one of the common questions that all of you do have when it comes to how do you fill this questionnaire, what is getting covered, is what is getting reviewed. And the answer is that review is very comprehensive because it focuses on overall governance and control environment of the distributions business. So it starts from your business model itself, like Venkat sir alluded to in the call at the beginning. The industry is now at 85 lakh crores in terms of size. All of our individual businesses have grown very large. So it is also important that we are maintaining those checks and balances in our businesses. So every business model for an MFD would be different. The infrastructure requirements would be very different. The exercise begins with understanding a business model, your experience in the industry, the nature of service you provide to investors, the businesses to assess whether the operational framework is appropriate for the scale and complexity of your business. So that's something that the CA firm will typically look at. I think from an infrastructure perspective, also, if your business is large in terms of practice, then there will be certain things which will get assessed, whether the infrastructure is commensurate with the complexity of your business. So that's something that you will have to kind of certify to the CA firms. So the second and the third and the fourth point, I think, are again something that we will cover in lot detail when Rohit takes the second part of the presentation. But typically, the services that are provided, whether वो execution only है या advisory है, and we'll touch that in the later part of the presentation, like I said. And risk profiling, these two, I think, are the most common questions that we have received from all of you in the past as well, and we will try and answer as much queries that you would have on this. But largely, these are things which will get covered through the questionnaire. So review of your associates and subsidiaries, अगर वो है, आपका human resource में क्या processes है for recruiting your staff, training your staff. So those are things that will get covered. From a regulatory and statutory perspective, also, if there are any fines or penalties that have been applied to you, you should be transparent in kind of sharing that with the CA firms upfront. Please be as transparent as possible, because the idea here is not just identifying observations to assess the risk taking, but I think it's more about seeing that you are documenting those things very properly. We can move to the next slide. So again, there are a few more things that in terms of checklist, which will get covered during the DDQ questionnaire, like I said. NISM is again a very, very important and a critical part of our business. NISM and EUIN certifications for all our staff is required. So there has to be a documentation demonstrating that all our employees who are in sales and meeting clients. So basically, it's not just sales. अगर कोई हमारा employee client facing है or not pure back office employee, then they should be NISM certified, or if you have sub staff or sub brokers, then they should have an EUIN which is linked to your ARN. So those are all prerequisites for the business. I'm sure all of you are aware of that, but that's something that will definitely get revalidated during the audit process. So that's one thing. KYC, again, a very, very integral part of the whole client onboarding process. So that's something which will get covered. Processes related to data of investors, how you are sharing your emails, what are the communication that you're doing with them. A process of disclosure of commission, we will again cover this in the second part of the presentation as well. Process of resolution of complaints and record keeping. And at the same time, one of the very important things which has come up through the SEBI regulations is on the advertisement guidelines. I am sure we have been communicating through Amfi and individually as AMCs to all of you also in terms of what is the requirement from each one of you, but that's something that will get reviewed under the DDQ exercise as well. And lastly, I think the process of identifying instances of mis-selling, this again becomes a very, very important and a critical part of the whole review exercise in terms of how you are doing the risk profiling of your clients, how you are advising or how you are looking at the suitability for a product. If the product is not suitable, are you doing enough documentation from the investor? Those are things that definitely needs to be kept in mind as a part of the process itself and will get reviewed. Yeah, we can move to the next slide. So जो last दो slide पे मैंने बात किया, I think those are all the areas that we will cover in the part of the DDQ. So what will happen is as part of the DDQ, we will list them into these 6 buckets. Information about the distributor, our mutual fund business activities, operations and customer service related processes, compliance and risk management, human resource, which is about staffing and how you are employing your people, how you are training them, NISM certification, I talked about that. And 6th is the legal part. ये 6 buckets में you will have the questionnaire segregated, and each segment or each section will have few questions about your business which needs to be filled. So the idea is the DDQ has been already shared with you. You should start working on in terms of preparing your responses and your documentations for each one of these 6 segments of the due diligence checklist. And accordingly, once when the CA firms agree to come and visit you for the physical interaction, that's the time that you can start discussing the whole DDQ details with them. Yeah, we can move to the next slide. So I did talk about this. So next slide, next steps क्या है हमारे लिए? Next steps यही है कि I'm sure some of the CA firms would have started to reach out to some of you in terms of how do they take time from you to visit your office and then start the due diligence exercise. This has to be completed in a time-bound manner. So our request to all of you would be कि जितना जल्दी आप इस process को complete कर सकते हैं, but it has to be done in a very not in terms of hurry, but you can take your time in terms of ensuring that all the proper documentation is completed, and then you sit with the CA firms to complete the whole due diligence exercise. There can be questions, there can be observations when they are visiting you and when they are interacting with you. Our suggestion and request would be कि जो चीजें आप उनसे डिस्कस करके ठीक कर सकते हो वो उनको साथ के साथ ठीक करते रहो, so that there is no need for the observations to come back to Amfi or us and then we write back to you of saying these are observations. If there are minor things that can get corrected through the whole exercise itself, वो आप लोग उसके साथ साथ में ही कवर करते रहना और उसको इम्प्रूव क्लोज कर देना. That's what we would recommend to you at this point of time. But having said that, if there are observations which are not addressable during your discussions with the CA firm, obviously we will then see how we want to come back with those observations and communicate with you for the rectification and remediation at a later date. So that's what we will have to look at. So MFDs will be issued letters stating the deficiencies observed. अगर due diligence में कुछ होती है, like जैसा मैंने बोला, wherever possible, MFDs may rectify the deficiencies immediately during the due diligence process. And depending on nature and how severe the observation is, Amfi will then look at seeking the response from the MFDs once the observations have been filed by the CA firms. And we will give you suitable time to give us your responses and the corrective actions जो आप लोगों ने लिए हैं for us to kind of then look at how do we appropriately close the observations that have come in from the CA firms. So those are things that you have to keep in mind as next steps as we progress into this exercise. And maybe in the next section, I'll hand it over to Rohit now to take you through some more finer details of what we've just discussed. So मैंने questionnaire की बात करी, and Rohit may maybe take you in detail with few of the other things that you have to keep in mind while filling your DDQ for the audit. So Rohit, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Avnish. Can we move on to the next? This is already covered.
It's already covered.
Next. So obviously, Amnish gave a very detailed, pointers on what all is due diligence and what all has to be covered and everything else. I think in his initial remarks only, he said what was the frequency. Frequency is that, due diligence for a particular MFD or the partner will be done once in 3 years. The criterias, there are those 4 criterias which he already enumerated when he started his presentation. So every year, the entire MFD community goes through that checklist of those 4 criterias, and all the names are taken out. Out of that, whosoever has already gone through the due diligence process for last 3 years, they are kept out, and the rest of the people are put into the due diligence process. So this is a very process which has been going on for some time now. This year we are covering for financial year 24-25. 25-26, around 1,600 odd partners have been shortlisted who will undergo this due diligence process. So again, as most of my parts are just explanation of what Avnish said in his earlier part, is that he already said that an ISM certificate her employee ke paas hona chahiye. Suggestion is that have it for everyone, but for sure उन सब के साथ होना चाहिए, all those of our employees who are client facing, whether they're into service, sales, promotion of all the mutual fund products, all of them should have an ISM certification, and they should obtain the EUIN. It is important that MFDs provide the figures in respect of all the employees who are in the process of selling or promoting the MF, or also servicing the client, are client facing, are giving relevant details to the client, scheme details to the client from time to time. So many times when we are on the ground, partners ask us, the particular guy is only doing servicing, giving the statements to the client, or telling them what is the NAV and all that. It is very critical to understand that any client facing role needs to have an ISM certification as well as EUIN. Only in case you have a pure back office resource, you can not have an ISM certificate. For example, somebody in the accounts department, or somebody who's reconciling only with for example, mutual funds for various aspects of the business, maybe they can be kept out of an ISM certificate. But as a good practice, I think it is very prudent for all of us to ensure that all our employees have an ISM certificate and are having their own EUINs. And the MFDs may additionally separately mention the number of other employees who are holding a valid EUIN. This has to be, as Avnish also said, be as transparent as possible with the auditors who come. This exercise actually is not audit. This is an exercise where we all want to ensure that we are on the right track. We are following all the regulations, code of conducts, and we are doing the best for our clients, because at end of the day we are managing clients' money, we are managing their trust. Any small mistake unnecessary will create that rift in the trust. That's what we all want to do. There's no intention of anyone associated with due diligence to pinpoint the lacunas or put somebody behind. That's what we want to make it very clear. This is just to ensure that we are on the right path. Next. So this is a very big debate. I think last year also the biggest debate was on this only, and many of the partners kept insisting that they're only execution only platform. But we need to understand, execution only relationship refers to those relationship where client is doing everything on their own self. The only thing, even if, and secondly, even if it is execution only, profiling of the client needs to be carried out by the platform or the MFD who's considering themselves as execution only platform. So in any case, in that case also, we'll have to do risk profiling of our clients, and we have to ensure that there is suitability of the product. But a very important thing is that as per the, if you see the core statutory exemption clause 4 of SEBI's regulation 2013, it allows MFDs to give incidental advice. Now, what does incidental advice mean is that once a client comes to you, you've done their we've done their risk profiling, and we've for example identified their what kind of risk profile this particular client has. So you will suggest some schemes which are appropriate to that risk profile of that client. So to that extent, we can give that incidental advice to our clients. We need to ensure that we don't do a proper financial planning or a multi-asset allocation for those clients. That's what is critical. That can be done only once we have RIA certificate. Till that time, as MFDs, execution only is perfectly all right. It is there as per the regulation. We should not feel that okay, we cannot use word advisory. Yes, in our names and otherwise we can't use advisory, but incidental advice is something which we can give. It is allowed. There is no issue as such there. But one more thing, we need to make sure that we have the documentation of the risk profiling being done and the schemes being suggested, and we have to ensure that whatever schemes are being suggested, they are in alignment with the risk profile of the client, and we document each and everything there. And what is the difference between online service, in the DDQ process? Online services obviously is a service in which the MFDs use their own online transaction platform. They create own transaction platform using technology or APIs with many AMCs. Transaction platforms which are provided by BSE, NSE, MFU, and many other such providers are market infrastructures, and hence they're not regarded as online service providers, service offered by them. MFD. This is again very critical to all the partners. While dealing with clients, we will have some complaints, small, minor, big, it doesn't matter. If there is a complaint, as a good practice, we need to ensure that we record that complaint. There is some number given to that complaint, and we need to make sure that we resolve that complaint amicably in a reasonable amount of time, because we've had instances where mis-sellings have happened of a large scale, and still people don't report that. As we've said earlier, Avnish also was saying the same thing. Please be forthcoming, be forthright. There will be sometimes minor complaints here and there. We need to be sure that as long as we have attended to those complaints, we should not fear putting them on a register or having a track of them. It's very critical that we register all the complaints which come from our clients, and there has to be a proper method in which the resolution has been done, and that also should be there in the register or online. We need to somewhere show that the complaints have been taken care of. There have been various clauses, MFD have to the endeavor has to resolve investor grievances which may come because of the sale, mis-sell, or marketing distribution activities. It's very important that in case there are complaints, we resolve it along with the AMCs. We give all the information to the AMCs also, so that they can also help to resolve those in an amicable and timely manner. Even if you can't maintain a register, online trail of all your complaint mechanism, whether once or whenever they are resolved, we can give that as a proof that the complaints have come and they've been resolved in timely manner. clause for code of conduct. So MFDs, again, this is very critical. We've seen in last few months there have been instances when strict actions have been taken against erring partners. This is a thin line, partners. Very important that we use marketing material which has compliance approved AMC material only. When you want to give some scheme related information, you want to do some social media advertising, make sure that you use material which has been given by the AMCs themselves. Please don't design marketing materials on your own. It's very important that you follow the guidelines, whether it's on the social media or it is on the website, it's on the apps. Please don't do anything without the approval of the AMC if you are trying to propagate some particular AMC. And if you want to do that, make sure that you take prior approval before displaying or circulating any write-up which is going in the name of the scheme. In case you prepare your own material, you should comply with the advertising guidelines. We will obviously take you through that also going forward. Training programs, very important is that all the partners should encourage staff to attend trainings. Apart from whatever trainings you give to your team members or staff or sub distributors, make sure that we encourage our staff and sub brokers, sub distributors to attend the training provided by Amfi as well as by AMCs, and make sure that we maintain a record of the same. MFD should also disclose the, very important is that clients should know the commissions which various schemes are giving to the partners. Whatever has been suggested to the clients, we need to ensure that we are very transparent, that it's not the commission which is, getting that fund in the client's portfolio, but it is the merit of the portfolio which has ensured that fund has become part of the portfolio. बहुत जरूरी है कि clients के दिमाग में ये trust रहे हमेशा कि हमारे को एक कोई भी particular fund जो बेचा गया है उस scheme का कमीशन की वजह से नहीं बेचा गया, बट स्कीम का सूटेबिलिटी की वजह से हमको बेचा गया है. सो इसीलिए बहुत अहम है कि हम जो भी कमीशन रेट्स हमें एएमसी से मिलते हैं वो वेबसाइट्स पे अच्छे से डिस्प्ले हो, और अगर वो ऑनलाइन प्लेटफॉर्म्स हैं तो ट्रांजैक्शन का एक स्क्रीन कहीं पे एक लिंक के थ्रू प्राप्त हो पाए, जो भी किसी क्लाइंट को अगर वो देखना है कि कितना कमीशन किसी प्रोडक्ट पे मिल रहा है. तो ये बहुत जरूरी है ये डिस्क्लोजर करना, एंड वी ऑल नीड टू इंश्योर दैट दिस इज adhered to from time to time. और एक चीज, if we only disclose range of commission 1 से 1.5% या 80 पैसे से 1 रुपया, obviously that will not suffice. We have to be very particular कि हर AMC का कमीशन रेट प्रोडक्ट वाइज क्या है वो हमारी वेबसाइट पे कहीं पे होना चाहिए या एक लिंक के द्वारा हमें वो देना पड़ेगा. MFDs को हर जगह पे अपना नाम और ARN हर प्लेटफॉर्म पे, हर चैनल ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन पे, हर प्रमोशनल जो भी एक्टिविटी वो करते हैं देना पड़ेगा, चाहे वो आपके प्रिंटेड मटेरियल्स हो, वन पेजर्स हो, सोशल मीडिया हो. और वी शुड क्लियरली रेफर टू सेबी सर्कुलर व्हिच जस्ट केम इन 2026 February. It's a very recent code of conduct or the circular which came. Please adhere to that. We don't want, as I said, बहुत ही बारीक thin line है, उसको क्रॉस ना करें तो बेटर होगा, क्योंकि sometimes by mistake also we've seen people have crossed the line and suddenly some action gets triggered. हम नहीं चाहते कि कोई भी एक्शन ट्रिगर हो. सो इट्स वेरी क्लियर कि जो उस सर्कुलर में बताया गया है हम उसको पूरी तरह से अडेयर करें और अपने आप को हमेशा प्रोटेक्टेड रहें बाय एडहेरिंग टू द कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट एंड ऑल द रेगुलेशन. Also MFD should also ensure that empanelment status with AMCs is disclosed appropriately. जहाँ पे वो अच्छे से दिखना चाहिए, कम्युनिकेट होना चाहिए, डिस्प्ले होना चाहिए. It's very important that we are able to do that. हम सबको प्रिपेयर कैसे होना है DDQ के लिए? As Avnish also said, first of all the basic is DDQ. जो आपको क्वेश्चनियर मिला है, प्लीज जैसे हम पहले एक चेकलिस्ट होता था उसके सामने टिक्स मार्क्स करते थे, सिमिलरली वी शुड take that questionnaire and try and see what all has been asked for, whatever is expected out of you. उसमें से हम कितना हमारे पास readily available है और कितना हम जल्दी से available कर सकते हैं. But the best way of doing it एक process की तरह अगर करेंगे तो एक मान लीजिए आपका ARN, KYD, incorporation certificate, compliance manuals एक फोल्डर में होने चाहिए, एक centralized documents होने चाहिए, ताकि जैसे आपसे कोई भी चीज मांगा जाए you'll be able to take it out and give it to them. और एक बहुत जरूरी चीज है, वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इज दैट हमारा जो भी डेटा है वो हमारी रेगुलेटरी फाइलिंग्स के साथ मैच होना चाहिए. और ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए हमने एक्स कहा है और जो हम ग्राउंड पे एक्चुअली अपने ऑफिस में काम करें वो टोटली डिफरेंट है. सो वी हैव टू इंश्योर दैट वॉट एवर वी बीन टेलिंग और वॉट एवर वी बीन डूइंग आवर रेगुलेटरी फाइलिंग्स ऑन ग्राउंड भी हमारी ऑपरेशंस वैसे ही हों. अपना इंटरनल एस्केलेशन मैट्रिक्स एक हमें ड्रॉ डाउन करना चाहिए कि अगर एस्केलेशन होता है तो किस मैट्रिक्स के हिसाब से वो एस्केलेट होते रहेगा, फर्स्ट लेवल, सेकंड लेवल, थर्ड लेवल. ऑडिट ट्रेल रखना बहुत जरूरी है, क्लीन लॉग रखना, चाहे वो मेल्स के थ्रू हो या रजिस्टर के थ्रू हो. कस्टमर का रिस्क प्रोफाइल पहले आई थिंक मेनी ऑफ द MFD पार्टनर्स यूज्ड टू हैव रिस्क प्रोफाइल्स इन फिजिकल फॉर्म. Continue doing that, and all the guys who've now moved on to the online platforms for risk profiling, make sure that we have logs of every client's risk profile and suitability forms. बहुत ही important है. रिस्क प्रोफाइलर्स हर क्लाइंट का हमारे पास मेंटेन होना बहुत जरूरी है. NISM के लिए एक चेक होना चाहिए, मेकर चेकर होना चाहिए, हमारे पास सिस्टम्स होने चाहिए which keeps giving us trigger in case there is somebody whose NISM is getting certification is getting expired in next 1 month, 2 months. Set those timelines की कोई भी ऐसा एम्प्लॉय हमारा नहीं होना चाहिए जो क्लाइंट फेसिंग है, सेल्स करता है, सर्विस करता है क्लाइंट की. एट एनी गिवन पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम दे कांट डू दैट ड्यूटी unless until they are not NISM certified. So make sure that you keep verifying those things, create some process which ensures that you don't miss out on that. कमीशन रिकंसिलेशन करते रहिए. आपकी AMC से जो ट्रेल कमीशन आती रहती है उसको इंटरनल अकाउंटिंग रिकॉर्ड से चेक करते रहिए, सो दैट देयर इज नो मिसमैच. बिकॉज आप वो करते रहेंगे तो ऑब्वियसली जब आपका कभी भी ऐसा ऑडिट आएगा, ड्यू डिलिजेंस के लिए आपसे बात किया जाएगा, ऑब्वियसली यू विल हैव इनफ एंड मोर डिटेल जो आप इजीली टाइम पे द ऑडिटर्स को दे पाएंगे. एंड अपने एज आई सेड अर्लियर ग्रीवेंस लॉग रखना बहुत जरूरी है. आई थिंक ग्रीवेंस के लिए it is always better to keep a register, but then if you are not keeping, अगर आप नहीं रख रहे हैं, make sure that हम एक grievance का एक online एक sheet बनाएं और उसके सामने there has to be enough evidence to show that वो grievances जो बने हैं वो हमने close करी हैं या resolve करी हैं, और एक time stamp के साथ उसका हम we should be able to prove that हमने किस time पे वो कैसे resolve करी हैं. क्या चीजें जो हमें avoid करनी चाहिए as partners? अपना डेटा हैज टू बी करेक्ट. जो हम जो ऑडिटर्स आएंगे उनसे शेयर कर रहे हैं, इट हैज टू बी कंसिस्टेंट टू व्हाट आवर प्रैक्टिस इज. व्हाटएवर आवर रिपोर्टेड AUM है, क्लाइंट काउंट है, एक्चुअल रिकॉर्ड्स के साथ मैच करना चाहिए. प्लीज डोंट गिव एनी नंबर टू द ऑडिटर्स, then that issue comes that we've not given the right information. Submitting generic unupdated privacy or cybersecurity clauses. We have to ensure that our policies are up to date. We have gone through all the regulations, all the code of conduct policy, all the circulars of the regulator, and make sure that we are up and running on all those things. Ignoring minor disclosure. कोई छोटी सी complaint है हमने नहीं बताई, so अगर बाद में मान लीजिए वो पता चली, then that creates an. So please don't for God's sake hide any past regulatory notices or client complaints, because there will be mechanisms through which if it has got escalated to Amfi or AMCs, it can be easily pulled out, and then that creates an issue. Delayed submission, missing AMC's compliance windows, which can freeze empanelment. So make sure that whatever has been asked by AMCs also from time to time in terms of submission of your data, that is also done, so that there's no issue of freeze or de-empanelment of or the payouts. सेल्स टारगेट डीलिंकिंग, हमारे पास प्रूफ होने चाहिए कि जो भी हमने सूटेबिलिटी के थ्रू द्वारा क्लाइंट को स्कीम्स दिए हैं उनका कोई भी लेना देना ना तो कमीशन के साथ है ना तो एएमसी के सेल्स ड्रिवन टारगेट से है. Obviously it doesn't happen now, but then yes, we have to ensure that we are able to give this as a proof that whatever schemes have been given, the best way is make sure that you give those schemes to your clients जो उनके suitability risk profile के हिसाब से उनको suit करता है. Missing or incorrect EUI numbers, application forms can trigger systematic failures. हमें ensure करना है EUIs सही तरीके से हमने forms पे डाले हों अगर हम physically कर रहे हैं, या सही EUIs हमने हर जगह लिखे हों, and हम relevant लोगों का ही EUI use कर रहे हैं जो client के साथ बात कर रहे हैं या वार्तालाप कर रहे हैं या उनको मिल रहे हैं, वही EUI हर जगह use हो रहा है. It should not happen that we not using the right EUIs. And हम ये पक्का अवॉइड करना है that we don't have any record trail gaps, filing to maintain structure, dated notes of client risk profiles and rationale behind your fund choices. बहुत important है. एक बारी risk profile अगर है उसी हिसाब से आप अपने client को suitable products देंगे तो वो एक सही माध्यम रहेगा. And obviously Amfi, we all are there to help support each one of you. हमने एक dedicated email ID बनाया है. Anything, any issue related to due diligence process, there is this email ddr@amfi.india.com. You can write us on that, and I think the team will ensure that we get back to you as soon as possible with the right suggestions and help. Please note, and as we said, this is already done. इस email ID पे please और कोई query मत डालेगा, because we are sure that many queries will come from due diligence. We will not be able to answer any other query other than the due diligence related queries on this email ID. So thank you very much. I think we try to keep it as precise, as concise as possible. So Sonali, back to you. We may take some questions if there are.
Thank you, Rohit. And also, I have replied most of the questions wherever it's possible. So there are some common questions which has been asked. So one, which is a DDQ questionnaire has not been received. ये आपको मिला नहीं है करके questions आ रहे हैं, मतलब बहुत सारे MFD से. So जो पहला मेल एम्फी ने भेजा है उसमें नीचे एक लिंक दिया गया है. आपको वो क्लिक करना है लिंक, और once you click that link, on the top corner on the left hand side there is a button where you can download that link. तो वो वहां पे PDF ओपन हो जाएगा क्वेश्चनएयर का. अगर फिर भी आपको नहीं मिल रहा है, then we can send you the attachment, the PDF attachment. The link is, but please mention the ARN number while replying to us so that we can send you the response also. But there is a link which you have to click. उसमें questionnaire है. I request all the MFDs who has received this email, please check your email, and the very bottom of that email you can see there is a link. Rohit, Avnish, there is one question on the execution and advisory. तो अगर आप वो कोई simplify कर सकते हो, so you can simplify that.
Yeah, so I think I've covered it already, but इसको और simple करने के लिए.
Once again, if you can, बोलेगा. हाँ, एक बोल सकते हैं कि अगर आप कर सकते हैं तो in Hindi you can explain.
Hindi comment was there. So this is an important question, so you can inform in Hindi if possible.
Okay. So मैंने ऑलरेडी ये वैसे अपनी प्रेजेंटेशन में कवर किया है, बट मैं फिर से रिआइटरेट करता हूँ. while executing our service, हमारी सर्विसेज देने के वक्त ऑब्वियसली हम इंसिडेंटल एडवाइस दे सकते हैं. देयर इज अ प्रोविजन विच हमें एक अवसर देता है कि हम इंसिडेंटल एडवाइस देंगे. बिकॉज जब आप रिस्क प्रोफाइलिंग कर रहे हैं तो आपने एक सूटेबिलिटी क्लाइंट का, मान लीजिए वो मॉडरेट है या अग्रेसिव है या रिस्क अवर्स है, उसके हिसाब से आपने क्लाइंट को बोल दिया. और एक नया क्लाइंट है, मान लीजिए वो क्लाइंट आपके पास आया है कि हमें थोड़ा हेल्प करिए हमारा इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए. तो जब आपने वो करा है तो ऑब्वियसली आप उनको सजेशन देंगे कि इस रिस्क प्रोफाइल के हिसाब से ये 4 फंड्स हमें ठीक लगते हैं. वहां तक हम कर सकते हैं, दैट इज, उसको हम बोलते हैं इंसिडेंटल एडवाइस, और उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, आप इंसिडेंटल एडवाइस कर सकते हैं। हम क्या नहीं कर सकते हैं, वो फाइनेंशियल प्लानिंग नहीं कर सकते, हम गोल बेस्ड प्लानिंग नहीं कर सकते, हम मल्टी एसेट एलोकेशन नहीं कर सकते क्लाइंट के लिए कि कितना किस वाले एसेट में जाना चाहिए। वो ऑब्वियसली फिर आपको उसके लिए RIA बनना पड़ेगा, बट एज म्यूचुअल फंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर बहुत क्लियर है कि हम इंसिडेंटल एडवाइस दे सकते हैं। Avnish, you want to add on that?
Yeah, Rohit, I think you did explain it again. And just to reiterate, दो चीजें हैं इसमें. एक है रिस्क, बेसिक रिस्क प्रोफाइलिंग भी हमको क्लाइंट की करनी चाहिए, बिकॉज प्रोडक्ट सूटेबिलिटी जो है that gets determined by doing that basic risk profiling, which is again part of the जो रोहित ने बोला सेबी का allowed extent है, it's covered there as well. And basis that product suitability, we have to then recommend the products which can typically then gets classified as incidental advice. उसके अलावा अगर आप ये नहीं कर रहे हो, then it becomes an execution only thing, जहाँ पे आपको client से एग्जीक्यूशन ओनली का ही कंसेंट लेना पड़ेगा. सेकंड इज, अगर आपने कोई प्रोडक्ट ऐसा रिकमेंड कर रहे हो क्लाइंट को जो आपको लगता है रिस्क प्रोफाइल के हिसाब से, या क्लाइंट ने ऐसा प्रोडक्ट लेना चाहते हैं जो आपके सूटेबिलिटी के हिसाब से नहीं बराबर लगता है, आपकी रिस्क प्रोफाइलिंग के हिसाब से नहीं बराबर लगता है, वहां पे यू विल हैव टू take a declaration from the client that he is looking at investing into that product, because I'm sure a lot of you would have received some communication from us, most of the AMCs, where SEBI has been conducting this exercise over the years, where certain category of products like a small cap fund being sold to a very senior citizen becomes kind of unsuitable product, but वहाँ पे फिर हमको client का एक consent की ज़रूरत पड़ती है. And that is something which also you have to keep in mind. It's not just about giving incidental advice. It is also, if the client is willing to buy a product which you believe is unsuitable for the client, you will have to have proper documentation for that as well. So वो एक और चीज आपको ध्यान में रखनी रहेगी. I also have Saurabh Gangrade, who's head of our compliance at Franklin Templeton. Maybe I'll invite Saurabh also to give some views from his side in terms of how distributors should be looking at this. Saurabh.
Thank you, Avnish, and thank you, Rohit, for a very detailed description. Yeah, so जैसे कि सोनाली ने रिक्वेस्ट किया था कि आप थोड़ा हिंदी में बताइए, तो मैं हिंदी में बताने की कोशिश करता हूँ. और जो भी अवनीश और रोहित ने बताया वो एकदम सही है कि एक डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर को दो पार्ट्स में डिवाइड किया हुआ है, दो कैटेगरीज में डिवाइड किया हुआ है. एक है एडवाइजरी और दूसरा है एग्जीक्यूशन ओनली. परंतु एक बेसिक रिक्वायरमेंट जो रेगुलेशन का, जो सेबी की रेगुलेशंस हैं उसका है कि अगर आप किसी क्लाइंट से इंटरेक्ट कर रहे हैं तो आपको एक बेसिक ड्यू डिलिजेंस उसका करना चाहिए. उसका रीजन ये है कि उसके जो रिक्वायरमेंट्स हैं समझने के लिए आपको उनका एक बेसिक ड्यू डिलिजेंस, एक रिस्क प्रोफाइलिंग की जरूरत ही होगी, और उस रिस्क प्रोफाइलिंग का आपको रिकॉर्ड कुछ ना कुछ रखना चाहिए. सो ये एक बेसिक जैसे कि थंब रूल बोलते हैं हम, वो आप लोग मेंटेन करिए. उससे काफी सारे आपके जो क्वेश्चंस हैं ऑडिटर्स के या रेगुलेटर्स के, वो ऑटोमेटिकली आंसर हो जाएंगे.
To client on the UI.
Thank you, Saurabh. Thank you, Avnish and Rohit, to clarify. So there are we know. So this due diligence which is going to be conducted, this is for the financial year 23-24 or 24-25 के लिए है. अगर कहाँ पे भी हम लोग ने 25-26 mention किया है, तो that is not there. This is only for the due diligence will be conducted only for financial year 23-24 and 24-25. क्वेश्चन था कि मेरा लास्ट टाइम ऑलरेडी ड्यू डिलिजेंस हुआ है एंड दिस टाइम आई एम नॉट देयर इन दैट लिस्ट. सो अगर आपका लास्ट टाइम ड्यू डिलिजेंस हुआ है तो आपका नाम ये वाले ड्यू डिलिजेंस में नहीं आएगा. दैट विल कम आफ्टर 3 years इन केस इफ यू फॉल. मतलब अगर आप कोई भी जो 4 क्राइटेरिया है सेबी ने जो मेंशन किए हुए हैं कि AUM 100 करोड़ होना चाहिए, आपका कमीशन 1 करोड़ आना चाहिए, या सिंगल AMC से 50 लाख होना चाहिए, या अगर आपका प्रेजेंस मोर देन 20 लोकेशंस में है, तो उसमें से एक भी अगर क्राइटेरिया में अगर आप आते हो तो ड्यू डिलिजेंस वापस से कंडक्ट होगा. दैट इज आफ्टर 3 years फ्रॉम Amfi.
So we already informed the those who are using me under this.
और ये ऑलरेडी हम लोगों ने मेंशन किया है, और यू नो व्हेन हम लोगों ने जो फर्स्ट ईमेल भेजा है उसमें मेंशन किया है कि कौन से क्राइटेरियाज में अगर आप आते हो.
If you all those me under this.
Okay, Saurabh, there is one question in the DDQ. That is 1.7. Do you have any family member entity in which distributor is a partner, director, engaged in MF distribution services? तो उसमें थोड़ा एक्सप्लेन करेंगे आप?
हाँ, तो उसमें क्या एग्जैक्टली क्वेश्चन है, इफ आई मे नो, तो मैं उसको एक्सप्लेन कर सकता हूँ.
So the question is, do you have any family member entity in which is a partner or director engaged in MF distribution business?
Yeah, तो इसमें the details required.
अगर कोई family member, sorry.
Yeah, as you rightly mentioned.
Does it have any impact?
Sorry, does it have any? Your voice was cracking, but all I could understand is that, see, if there is a family member who is also performing mutual fund distribution activity, then that detail is required to be disclosed. That's the key requirement there. Or if it's if the said family member is a director or a partner in another firm which is performing that activity, then also this detail is required.
Then he has to disclose. Okay.